So I want to just walk you through a couple of problems like you'll be doing in your workbook assignment for this week. First off, I want you to open up to page 315 in your textbook. This is self-test 18-2, section B. This is what you'll be doing on page 171 of your workbook assignment, and I would recommend doing this one actually first before you go back and do the analysis. So basically what we're doing is it's giving us two different Roman numeral progressions, and we have to decide what key it is modulating to. Now I couldn't write this on this Word document, but make sure you always want to use that bracket. Okay, so if this is the common chord right here, let's look at number 1 first. The common chord is 6 in the original key, and then 2 in the new modulated key. This is the common chord. What you want to do to notate that is you then want to make like a little bracket. So you want to put a vertical line right here, a horizontal line, and then another vertical line, just as you see in your textbook. That's the format you want to use. And then underneath that horizontal line, you want to write the new key that you're in with a colon, and then start the analysis in the new key. So how do you do this? Basically, what you're asking yourself is, we're in the home key of B flat major. The common chord is this 6th chord. In what key is the 6th chord going to be the 2 chord? To figure that out, you want to determine what type of chord is the 6 in B flat. So what chord is a minor 6 in B flat? That would be a G minor chord. Okay, so you just want to jot that down somewhere. I'll just write it right here. So basically we're looking for a G flat minor triad. So G, B flat, D. What key would make that triad the minor 2? And to do that, you can simply count back by a whole step, because that would give us what the tonic is from 2 to 1. And that would be F major. Okay? So basically, F major is the key that we are modulating to. The 2 in F major is G flat minor, which is the same as the 6 in B flat major. Now don't forget about accidentals, okay? If this had been, say, you want to make sure it's actually an F and not an F sharp or an F flat. So don't forget about those accidentals. And then whether it's major or minor, look at these chords. This has a tonic 1 as major, uppercase. So that means it's going to be a major key, so you don't have to worry about being in an F minor or anything like that. Let's try just one more. So this time we're in F sharp minor. Here's the common chord right here. So what is the 4 in the key of F sharp? That would be B, D, F sharp. So this is the common chord that we are looking for. In what key would B, D, F sharp be the 2 chord? Again, we have another 2. That's not always going to be the case, but in this case it is. So we would just figure out what the tonic is. We count back by a whole step from B, which gives us B, A sharp, A. And because this tonic is major right there, we know we're in a major key, so it would be A major. Now look at the example number 5, which should be on the opposite page, page 314. This is an example of an excerpt that contains a modulation. Now we need to actually find where that modulation starts. How do we do that? In this case, we do not have an actual change of key signature, so we have to actually look at the accidentals in the music. What you want to look for are accidentals that are continuously being added or deleted. So taking a look at the beginning, we have 3 flats, no accidentals around any of this area, so we're either going to be in probably E flat major, maybe C minor, but I don't see any raised leading tones. The first chord right here is E flat, so I'm going to take a bet on that one and say that that is an E flat major chord. So this would be my 1, and just going through this really quick, there's 5. That all makes perfect sense, okay? Then, just scanning through, what do we see start to happen? This looks all very normal, very visually, because there are no chromatic pitches. All fine, all fine. Then we run into this A natural. Okay? And look, there's another A natural there. And if you look in your book, I didn't copy the entire excerpt down, you'll see in the next measure, there is an A natural, and in the next measure, an A natural. So we see that in these next four measures, the A is always natural. So that means without actually changing the key signature, the composer has changed the key simply by getting rid of that A flat. Okay? So that means our key signature starting at this point technically would be a B flat and an E flat because this A is no longer there. Now the question is, how can you tell the secondary function from actual modulation? Because this chord right here is F, A, C, E flat, which could very well be a secondary dominant. It would be a 5 of 5 leading to the 5, which would make perfect sense. But because we see the A natural occur in the next measure and the next measure and the next measure, that's more of a long-term type of accidental, okay? Secondary functions will happen, every now and then sporadically. But this seems to be happening over a longer period of time and is therefore a true modulation. So, what key are we modulating to? So I said we're getting rid of the A flat. That gives our technical key signature a B flat and an E flat. So that would mean we were probably either going into the key of B flat major or G minor. Now, if we had G minor, we would also see a lot of the raised leading tone, the F sharp, which we definitely don't have here. So the good bet is B flat major. And looking through this, you can just kind of scan to find those tonic chords, which we have right here. Here's a B flat chord, there's another B flat chord, etc. So here is where our first accidental occurs. Therefore, you then want to back up by one chord to find that common chord. Here is the common chord. So you analyze it first in the original key, which is E flat major. We have a B, D, F, B flat D, F, which is a 5, let's get this, 5, 6, okay? Now what I would do is I would then make one of those squiggly lines right there, put the key underneath of it as, and I'm going to write it maybe right here. I would put the key as B flat with a colon, and that should be lower. I just can't make that happen. Oh, there we go. And then under this chord, I would then also analyze it in B flat. And in B flat, that would be a 1, 6. And then I would continue over to this next chord, analyzing it in B flat, back up onto the normal line. What we have here is F, A, C, E flat, which is a 5, 4, 3 in the key of B flat. Then we have our 1, 6, and so forth. Another way to find modulations is if you were to continue this in the key of E flat, you would see that the modulation or the harmonic progression just didn't make that much sense. We would have a lot of 5s going to 5s, and a lot of these secondary dominants, we would have a 5 of 5 going to a 5 here, and a 5 of 5 going to a 5 here. That just seems very redundant, that we're tonicizing B flat for a good portion of 2 measures. So instead of tonicizing it multiple times, why not just modulate to it, basically, is what's happening there. And that is how you would analyze one of these types of examples. This is going to be very similar to the one in your workbook this week. There are also other types of modulations that we'll look at which are a bit harder to spot when it goes to the relative major and the relative minor, because in that case we don't really see any added accidentals because they share the same key signature. You just have to look out for what chords are getting the emphasis and where that tonic chord is. But we will talk about that next week.